Hello there. WUF13 is no longer upon us. It has begun. And today is day 3 of what has become the largest gathering in the history of World Urban Forum. Heads of government, heads of state, principal international actors, urban planners are here in Baku, in Azerbaijani capital, discussing the future of cities, housing crisis, and they are trying to find a fundamental answer to the principal question: what should be done to provide safe, resilient, and long-term housing for billions of people across the world? Of course, there is a geopolitical aspect to this gathering as well, because there are certain actors which have their own agenda, and of course, naturally, within that confluence of interests, we see certain political battle as well. But let's focus on the substance and then about the geopolitical factors as concomitants. And today here at AnewZ studio, I'm very pleased to welcome Akbar Novruz, geopolitical analyst, who is amongst the attendees of this gathering. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
Greetings, Orkhan. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure of mine to be here. It's an honor.
The pleasure is entirely ours. Thank you, Akbar. Well, first talk about this nature of World Urban Forum. Basically, this is the largest gathering. 40,000 people from over 180 countries are here in Baku. Heads of government, heads of state, UN Habitat Chief and other chief UN officials. Do you think housing crisis as a problem necessitates such a joint action, or do you think there are limitations to what such a gathering could actually attain?
Well, perhaps it is indeed a significant moment for us, for Azerbaijan. Of course, this is the largest and biggest forum all over the World Urban Forum. So we have around more than 180 countries and more than 45,000 of participants currently attending. And in regards to the housing problems are indeed a big crisis in the world, unfortunately. And this is indeed mentioned less often over the in terms of politics and etc. because this is the inadequate housing, unfortunately, is a big problem, but unfortunately as well, it doesn't get addressed that much. But of course, in terms of this forum, currently I personally think the main object, the main idea here, the point is to make cities as livable as it can. Urbanization has been growing ever since, over the span of 70 years, for example. In the 1950s, we had only like the cities like Tokyo or New York as megacities. But right now we have more than 37 megacities around the world. So the numbers will most probably increase, and we have 58% of the world population is currently are urban dwellers, and probably in the span of 20 years that number, that percentage will increase to 70%. So probably right now the idea, the point is to make safe living, make affordable housing for everyone, every citizen and every people, and of course making a city, maybe inner city inside the city, in order to make a livable and insufferable city for everyone.
Thank you very much indeed, Akbar. This particular congregation is taking place here in Azerbaijan, the capital city of this country. On day 1, there was a massive precipitation here in the capital city. I think 525% above the climatic norm. So that did show us the challenge and the necessity of being ready for every eventuality. Also, President Aliyev, during his opening remarks yesterday on day 2, which was the day of the opening ceremony, talked about considering urban heritage and necessity of having high-tech green technology-induced city landscape together as well. What do you make of the Baku status? Because Baku is presently a sign-show of the urban planners and many policymakers in this particular field.
Yes, indeed. I personally think Baku is the main reason why it's chosen for the reason is not because it's a capital city of Azerbaijan. It's for the main reason because Baku has a rich history, which spans from beginning from the Middle Ages, from 10th and the 9th century, from Shirvan Shahs, going to Safavid dynasty and the Khanates, and even stressing to Saddam and Soviet Union and modern history. President Ilham Aliyev as well mentioned that the urban development of Azerbaijan has actually changed over the 20 years, which is a short amount of time, even if my memory does me justice. I would say that it has been a significant change over the span of short amount of time. For example, just for a brief moment of little mention, for example, when you get on the top of the Maiden Tower, maybe you will actually understand that. When you get top of the Maiden Tower, when you take a 360 degrees of view, you can actually see the history, that heritage of Baku, which has architecture from Soviet Union. You have old city on your
layer after layer.
Yeah, layer
so you
after
got
layer.
a 19th century layer, and then of course, early 20th century.
Yes, indeed. Yes, we have houses which has solar panels, which actually supports the renewable energy as well, which actually shows that Baku is actually a city full of this rich heritage, and a city trying to be ready to be as a example. Unfortunately, on the first day we had as you mentioned, a high precipitation.
Well, I think that the figures from relevant Azerbaijani authority suggest that 122 millimeters within 9 hours. That's a massive challenge for any
massive
city.
Indeed. You can actually remember the last time I've actually seen this much rain in May.
So that effectively means you should be ready for the worst case scenario
of course.
on a daily basis.
Yes, indeed, sewage drainage systems should be all ready, and Baku is on the verge of getting ready to that, of course, I would personally.
So we talked extensively about Baku. It's a massive showcase. President Aliyev himself talked about different ingredients of Bakuvian landscape, wide city where actually AnewZ itself is based, a sort of city inside city.
Yes.
You got Sibris, which is a completely different section of the Baku, the metropolis. So it's a fascinating city, of course, with its own challenges, problems that need to be resolved, but also with its beauty as well. Let's talk about the efforts by Azerbaijani government to restore and rebuild and revive, if to use President Aliyev's trilateral adage made during that opening remark, within those opening remarks. Let's talk about what's happening there. So what is good about Azerbaijan presently? That green technology, AI-induced, sustainable, climate-conscious, water-sensitive, the rebuilding efforts are being put into practice there. What I discussed with my colleague Andy Mioch yesterday, we were having a chat as part of our 6 p.m. bulletin. I said that Azerbaijan had a massive housing crisis in the early 90s because of the occupation of Azerbaijani territories, and those Azerbaijanis who were forced to leave the Karabakh region, there were IDPs, and plus those who were expelled from modern-day Armenia, there were refugees. And refugees and IDPs came together, and Baku and its vicinity faced one of the massive housing challenges because you needed to house them, all of them. And now the challenge is different. You need to actually rebuild the deoccupied territories. We know that 85,000 people already returned to Karabakh and East Zangezur as part of the Great Return. What do you make of that effort by Azerbaijan? How sustainable is it? That's basically, let's discuss it in the context of this forum.
Well, Orkhan, I think currently it is indeed a significant problem. As you said, the city being flooded by all these people from the modern day Armenia and, of course, the Karabakh region is indeed something terrible. And even in the span of 30 years, these people were actually outside of their homelands for the 30 years of period. Even after the liberation of our lands from Karabakh, even people had some sort of, even though they had some curiosity, but they were actually feeling threat, the danger to getting back to the lands because it was contaminated by landmines, unfortunately.
Sure. Contamination by landmines is one aspect there.
It is indeed one of the main problems Azerbaijani government is currently facing against. But with that said, of course, in the span of 5 years, which is a short amount of period, 85,000 IDPs have returned to their home. And Karabakh as well is actually used as an example in this current forum, World Urban Forum, with its smart city innovation, which in my opinion is one of the underappreciated and understated and under the radar, I would say, event of significance, let's say. Because Karabakh, everything, we should actually put that aside, all the political things regarding, because people will actually know Karabakh as a place where the conflict actually happened, but the main idea of the importance of Karabakh is not only its own geography, it's strategically, it actually has that vast economic potential, which actually Karabakh serves as a great place of having a big potential in terms of green energy, for example. We have Jabril Junction power plant, for example, hydropower plants, wind electricity. Then we have solar panels. It has that all kind of potential situated in one region, and with the return of IDPs in the next couple of months and years, and all those smart cities, for example, Azerbaijani government is trying to resurrect this region from its ashes, let's say. This is currently Karabakh.
It's basically restoring, rebuilding, but you're restoring it basically. You're rebuilding from the scratches.
Yes, scratches indeed. It is not an easy task, because over the span of 5 years, Azerbaijan actually invested around $14 billion, which is a huge amount of number. And over the next 4 or 5 years, this number is expected to to increase to $18 billion. Which is a huge investment. This actually shows that Azerbaijan is intended to rebuild this city from its scratch, to show it as an example, even in the next urban forums as well.
Yeah, building from the scratch is a massive challenge, and it probably creates a qualitatively new challenge, because you need to invest a lot of money, but you need to be very smart, and hence the concept of smart city, partly of course, and you need to find innovative solutions. My colleague Guy Schoen, editor-in-chief of AnewZ TV, today was moderating a ministerial panel, and the focus there was on connectivity. Basically, modern cities, by virtue of their locality, centrality and economic powerhouse status, they act as nodes to the wider connectivity landscape. Where do you see connectivity as an amplifier of modern, resilient city building efforts all over the world, in particular in Azerbaijan, of course?
Well, in particular Azerbaijan, I would say that the modern, this connectivity has been one of the main challenges as well, I would say, probably, because ensuring the connectivity between the people, between the citizens that are currently living in, for example, the currently liberated territories, are not an easy task. But right now, building those cities, I would actually like to cite a book, which I've actually read almost 2 years ago, which is from an American author called Benjamin Barber, If Mayors Ruled the World. He actually says that the mayors has this upper hand in terms of making this connectivity as much as possible, because they have this unburdened ideological gridlock, and they actually affect people's day-to-day lives, and they have this kind of credibility to ensure that as well. So at the end of the day, this connectivity should be at a higher pace, and it should be optimal to ensure people's day-to-day lives insufferable, easy, and of course prosperous, let's say.
It's very fascinating. You mentioned about cities, the rise of city-states, basically, so-called city-states. We got cities around the world like London, New York, Tokyo. In addition to being financial centers and globally significant places, they also got their own ecosystem. For example, London is absolutely essential to UK economy, and I think, if memory serves me correctly, around 25% of UK economy is connected with London. And quite often it is being said, and I subscribe to the view, that Britain lost its empire, but there are few imperial things left about, still remaining as part of UK identity. One of them is London, which is still an imperial city, world's greatest financial center alongside New York. So cities will rise, and of course we perhaps will need to discuss Baku's role in Azerbaijan's ecosystem as well. To what extent Azerbaijan is too reliant on Baku's centrality. Perhaps certain diversification should happen, certain elements which is currently being enjoyed by Baku, being part of Baku's identity, should be diversified and be sent and be transferred to other cities perhaps. But since you're a geopolitical analyst, I would like to end our conversation with a geopolitical question. We all remember that COP29 took place in Azerbaijan thanks to Azerbaijani-Armenian cooperation. The decision was made in December 2023, and had there been no Azerbaijan-Armenian cooperation, Azerbaijan would not have hosted COP29. And that cooperation happened after September 2023, when Azerbaijan regained control over the rest of Karabakh. So territorial integrity problem had been sorted out, and then COP29 decision was made. During COP29, Azerbaijan was subjected to massive attack. COP29 was a great success. And then Azerbaijan and Armenia initialed the text of the peace agreement after agreeing on that text in February and initialing it in August 2025. And today in May 2026, just a few weeks before the parliamentary elections in Armenia, Azerbaijan is hosting with WUF13. What is the geopolitical significance of WUF, you think, in that very context?
I think, in my opinion, you actually touched upon the great points, in my opinion. Azerbaijan, the main reason, the importance, the significance of Azerbaijan currently hosting this event, this actually shows that Azerbaijan actually successed during COP29. This shows United Nations trust to Azerbaijan as a hosting nation, which puts up a great performance in terms of making this kind of large forums to be established, let's say. With World Urban Forum, in my opinion, from geopolitical perspective, I think Azerbaijan is actually showing that Azerbaijan is a safe place, is a safe haven for every country, and every nation could actually come here and multiculturally. For example, leaders' meetings, which happened yesterday, was the first time it actually happened in the World Urban Forum's history. This is the first time leaders actually came to a country, attended, gave speeches regarding that as well. As regards to the tension between the peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia, as you mentioned before, I think this shows that even at the days of, let's say, the peace deal, even though it's not signed finally, the finalization of peace agreement has yet to be done. We have a big parliamentary election in this region upcoming, as you said, the joint parliamentary elections. It actually shows that Azerbaijan is actually a place of safe, and currently Azerbaijan is demonstrating this kind of events and holding this kind of events in order to show that this region is moving towards a new page, I would say. And maybe in the next couple of months, in regards to parliamentary elections, of course, that's the domestic policy. But Armenia, we cannot say that much of things regarding that, because this is more of a problematic thing to make a prediction. But of course, in regards to anything, I think Azerbaijan has demonstrated a great pace in terms of signing a peace deal, and Azerbaijan hopes to sign the peace deal. Armenia hopes to sign the peace deal.
Let me tell you one more point. Armenia recently hosted EPC, yes, the 8th summit of EPC on the 4th of May, and that hosting would not have happened without Azerbaijan-Armenia cooperation, as we know.
If the cooperation, this kind of connectivity didn't happen, as you mentioned, we wouldn't actually see this kind of events happening, because this region has been burdened under this many conflicts over the span of 30 years or so. So currently, of course, I think the sides are hopeful. The peace deal would potentially be signed over the next months, and we'll see what happens. The page, the future is up there, but they need to have the capacity to capitalize, I would say.
Thank you very much indeed. Indeed, they need to have a capacity to capitalize on that. Thank you very much indeed for this very interesting conversation. I wish you all the best.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for this invitation as well. I am honored to be here.
Thank you. Well, WUF13 is underway. Today is day 3, of course. And fundamental question up in the air is that what will happen next, and to what extent the stakeholders, different government actors, heads of state and government and so forth, will be able to come closer to that very fundamental solution, how to make our cities both effectively governable, habitable and resistant. And also, of course, fundamental question regarding housing will be discussed throughout the upcoming days. You've been watching Context. I'm Orkhan Amashov, and see you very soon indeed.